That's right. I'm here to review the very first movie that started it all, James Bond and Dr. No, to celebrate its 60th anniversary of the James Bond franchise. This is the first time I'm actually going to review the very first movie that started it all since 1962. Oh, it has the legendary actor that plays James Bond, Albert R. Broccoli, of famous actors like Harry Saltzman, and even presented by Sting Cornley. It has some great celebrities in it, as everybody knows about James Bond, and I like seeing amazing movies back in the day on how the effects used to look half as good as they were back in the day. It has like all the great actors, which I'll name a few of them, like Ursula Andress, Joseph Wiseman, Jack Lord, and Lee, Anthony Nelson, John Miller, Dina Marshall, and Lee Gayson, Michael Mark, Lois Maxwell, Peter Barton, Barney Samara, Louis Barzer, Reginald Carter, W.M. Foster Davis, and Mark Ridley Lars. Anyways, enough of the cast members. We're talking about the movie itself. Those of you already been around since the early times, in the 1960s or 70s. These are most likely the 80s, like the James Bond franchise is about a famous actor, or should I say main hero, well, 007, or what he's basically called in this movie, James Bond, by his name, is basically the hero of the story that wants to figure out the murder mystery, the strange person named Dr. No, and murder an innocent woman, trying to get an answer, gets brutally murdered by these unknown strangers, and leaves a mark behind. So it's up to our brilliant mastermind named James Bond, being secret ancient man who was basically there to help anyone in dire needs the trouble, and hear that classic first one-liner saying his name. Yep. Played the very first actor that ever played in the role of James Bond. We already heard it, Albert R. Broccoli. He does a pretty good, James Bond actor since 1962. And most likely these actors we know and love already kicked the bucket by now. But they'll never forget that he played a pretty good, James Bond. That he's smart, he's brilliant, he's cunning, clever, and most likely a great fighter or karate expert, and most likely have ways with the ladies. Speaking of Jamaica, that's where he goes there to find who killed the innocent woman. He gets answers from his boss, leader, and then he has to figure out who's behind it all. I'll try not to give too much away of this movie. It has good action, has a little bit of comedy. In most other James Bond movies franchise, it has drama and all that stuff. It has great locations and most likely the most stunning ladies you ever seen. And like her. And like I said, well, I haven't said this before, but James Bond gets all the ladies he ever meets. Not to mention he tries to figure out who's behind it all. And this next scene, he gets a ride from a cabbie driver and who he's working for, and we get a little bit of action scene that he tries to shoot him with a gun. Get a good old combat. And try to get answers from him, but unfortunately cut shortly when somebody used cyanide in the cigarettes, and so won't get any answers from him. And get some answers from the Cold Leader General on sees any blood marks or any hidden clues from the suspect leader, Dr. No. As we know about James Bond, he's very unique to his own ideas, how he meets people. Some of them will be close enemies, or most of them could be most allies. All I can say is, as the James Bond of this first movie is a brilliant, unique, of wonderful cast members. That's how it all started, or the series. When I was a young kid, I did enjoy most likely the James Bond movies, especially the moon-based one. When I was a kid, it kind of bored me, since I was more interested in cartoons and live-action movies. But since I'm older now, I'm actually enjoying them. I enjoyed like all the wonderful James Bond movies and video games, like that one called GoldenEye. And I play on the 64. I'll try not to give too much away if those of you want to see the movie for yourself. This movie was a big, huge box office success. Is that our wonderful hero James Bond does try to get out in situations that most assassins try their best to dispose of him, but always failing in mishaps. There's like this scene here where he gets attacked by a tarantula. But he was smart enough to outwit the big spider and squash it. I think the only time that James Bond would encounter an animal like that in future movies, he will fight most of them. I would say it's very, in a word for it, intriguing that they hired this Green actor to do in his roles of doing wonderful, so-called action packs. Sure does sound like saying calming action scenes in it when James Bond is not finding too many assassination criminals that end up in a pretty awesome chase scene like this one here. It's clever, it's unique, it has like a bit of action and explosions. It's just anyone that watched the old James Bond movies feel like you're actually there. It feels like you're having the time of your life, and our main hero does his best to find out who's behind it all. It has like great locations, brilliant soundtrack, a simple storyline of him figure out who's the brilliant evil leadership of everything else is in the word for it, terrific, is the reason why I enjoy these James Bond movies. Sure, some of them don't go as well as they were back then, but for some reason I love them all. I love every last of these films they ever did since 1962 to its first and very last one called No Time to Die, which is very sad on how they end the franchise on a big huge high note since James Bond's been doing lots of movies since the 1960s. And all I can say is that if you're like a huge James Bond fan like I am, you'll have a wonderful time watching these movies, especially the first one that started all of action-packed sceneries. There's not much else I can say about the James Bond franchise movies. Like this one does have some good actual tense scenes. And I'm pretty sure you'll have a great time in visiting this movie's first developmental scenes of action packs. So again, if you're like a huge James Bond fan, you'll most likely enjoy this movie next to the other collections you'll have in storage. So the very first James Bond movie, I'll give it a good solid 8 out of 10. You'll have a wonderful time watching this old classic movie as much as I have. So I'm just going to take a break from video gameplay. So I'm glad to talk about this wonderful history film of a huge, successful time. I also have it on VHS tape. But nowadays people won't watch these on DVD. So all you have to do is collect all the James Bond movies. You'll have a swell, perfect time. And hear him say that famous quote, "Chicken, not stern, sir." So that's all I can say for now about this very first unique, brilliant first James Bond movie since 1962 to celebrate its 60th anniversary this year. I'll see you all next time. So like the old saying, ta-ta for now. Thank you all for watching.